My name is Rachel Coleman, and if you had asked me 10 years ago what the lowest point of my life was, I'd tell you without hesitation it was the night my mother-in-law and my husband locked eyes, decided my worth, and threw me out of their house like I was a piece of furniture that no longer fit the decor. Their reason I hadn't given them a child yet. That's the kind of wound that doesn't heal fast. It cuts into your pride, your dignity, your belief that love is enough to carry you through. And yet somehow that night turned out to be the beginning of a life they could never have imagined for me. I met Adam Miller in the most cliché way possible. We both reached for the same blueberry scone at a coffee shop in Chicago. He laughed. I blushed, and by the end of that week, we were finishing each other's sentences. Adam wasn't just my husband. He was my best friend. Or at least, that's what I believed. For a while, everything felt like the start of a rom-com. But there was always a shadow lurking in the background, and her name was Evelyn Miller, Adam's mother. Evelyn was the kind of woman who could make a queen feel like a maid in her own castle. Her words were sharp, but the way she dressed them in polite smiles made them sting even more. At Sunday dinners, she'd lean across the table fork, poised in midair, and ask loudly enough for everyone to hear, "So, Rachel, any good news yet? Or are we just going to keep waiting?" The cousins would chuckle nervously. I'd force a smile. Adam would squeeze my hand under the table, but he never once told her to stop. Not once. The longer the silence of our home stretched, the empty bedrooms, the quiet mornings, the louder Evelyn's campaign became. She'd stop by unannounced with pamphlets about fertility treatments, or she'd sigh dramatically when a neighbor's baby cried in the distance. And then one February night, Adam came home, sat on the edge of the couch, and muttered words. "I'll never forget. Mom thinks maybe we should consider other options." Other options. That was code for her plan. Evelyn had already picked out a replacement, some younger woman named Stephanie, healthy and fertile in her exact words. My chest tightened. I asked Adam, "And what do you think?" He looked at the floor. His silence told me everything. A week later, I was standing in our bedroom folding my clothes into a suitcase. Evelyn leaned against the doorframe. Her lips curved in a satisfied smile. "It's for the best, dear," she cooed, pretending kindness. "Adam deserves a family, and well, maybe you'll find your place somewhere else." She said it like she was doing me a favor. Adam didn't fight for me. He didn't even walk me to the car. The last thing I saw through the blur of tears was him standing there with her arm hooked in his, like they were partners in my eviction. I drove through the cold Chicago night to a tiny rental apartment on the south side. The space was barely big enough for a bed and a table. I sat on the floor surrounded by unopened boxes, my chest aching with loss. But I carried a secret they had no idea about. 2 months before, I'd taken a pregnancy test in our bathroom. 2 pink lines had appeared faint, but undeniable. I'd pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from shouting, planned to tell Adam on our anniversary. But the tension in our marriage silenced me. And then before I could say a word, they'd thrown me out. They thought I was barren. They thought they'd won. But deep inside me, life was quietly blooming. I made a promise that night, whispering into the dark, "I'll protect you with everything I've got. I'll raise you in love, even if it's just me." That was the first flicker of strength after weeks of despair. The months that followed were brutal. I pieced together income from freelance copywriting, running errands, for an old professor folding laundry at the laundromat down the street. Rent devoured most of it, so I skipped meals, walked instead of taking the bus, stretched every dollar until it screamed. Some nights, loneliness pressed against me so hard I thought I'd break. But then I'd place my hands on my belly and whisper to my son, I had already named him in my heart, Noah. "We're going to be okay, Noah. Better than okay." When he finally arrived after a long, exhausting labor, my life shifted. He was tiny, with a furrowed brow, like he was already thinking deep thoughts. When the nurse placed him on my chest, the cracks Evelyn had left in me filled with something fierce and unshakable. Noah saved me. Every bottle, every diaper, every sleepless night stitched me back together. Neighbors whispered, "Poor girl left by her husband and now stuck with a baby." I ignored them. They didn't know Noah was the reason I hadn't collapsed completely. Years blurred his first steps, knocking over a lamp in our cramped living room. His first day at preschool when he clung to my hand until the teacher gently pried him off. He grew bright and curious, and I grew tougher, sharper, more sure of myself. By the time he was 6, I wasn't the discarded wife anymore. I was a mother who had built a life from nothing. That's when William Anderson walked into our story. I met him at the park. His niece was chasing pigeons alongside Noah. He jogged over, returned a stray soccer ball, and flashed the kind of smile that reaches all the way to the eyes. "You're Noah's mom, right? I've seen you around." From there, conversations flowed naturally. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't trying to impress. He was steady, the kind of man who listened without judgment. Noah adored him. One evening, William invited us to dinner with his family. I hesitated, but eventually said yes. His home was warm, filled with laughter. Watching Noah sit at the table, peppering William with endless questions about his work as an architect, I felt something I hadn't in years: belonging. Over time, I told William my story in pieces. He listened, brow furrowed, not with pity, but with respect. "You've done something incredible, Rachel," he told me once. "Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." A year later, we married in a small ceremony on a windy beach. Noah, in a slightly oversized suit, walked me down the sandy aisle, grinning from ear to ear. William adopted him legally, giving him not just a new last name, Noah Anderson, but a sense of permanence, of being claimed and cherished. For the first time in forever, I felt safe. Meanwhile, whispers of Adam and Stephanie's life trickled back. No children. Years of doctor's appointments, fertility treatments, arguments behind closed doors. Evelyn, the queen who once sneered at me, had turned her cruelty on Stephanie. Friends told me they'd seen her snap at Stephanie in public, heard her complain bitterly. And Adam, his business flopped, investments failed, and their once perfect facade crumbled. I didn't gloat, not at first. Honestly, I barely thought about them anymore. My days were filled with science projects, pancake breakfasts, William's quiet support, and the peace of a home without judgment. Then one spring afternoon, I was waddling through the farmer's market, 7 months pregnant with my second child, when I heard a voice that froze me. "Rachel." I turned, and there he was. Adam. He looked nothing like the man I remembered. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes dull, his suit replaced with a faded jacket. His gaze dropped to my belly, and shock rippled across his face. "You're pregnant." "Yes," I answered simply. He let out a bitter laugh, raked a hand through his thinning hair. "I can't believe this. All those years." And now, his voice cracked. "Rachel, I made a mistake, a huge one. I shouldn't have listened to my mother. Stephanie's gone. My family, what's left of it, is falling apart. I thought you couldn't." I raised my chin. "You thought wrong." "But that was never the point, Adam. It was never just about children." His eyes glistened. "I miss you. Miss us. I know I don't deserve it, but can we start over?" For a second, I studied him. I remembered Evelyn's smirk the night she pushed me out. I remembered packing my life into suitcases while Adam stood silent. And then I thought of William's laughter in the kitchen, Noah's bedtime hugs, the warmth of our home. The answer was already in my heart. "Adam," I said quietly, "you made your choice, and I made mine." His eyes darted again to my stomach. "Is it mine?" he whispered. I shook my head. "No, this baby is mine and my husband's. And yes, I'm married. Happily. To a man who loves me for who I am, not for what I can give him." Something flickered across his face. Pain, disbelief, regret. I shifted the bouquet of tulips in my hands against my belly. "What you're feeling right now, That's what it's like to be left behind. Right on cue, I heard William's voice calling my name. He and Noah walked toward me, arms full of pastries. William slipped his arm around my waist, protective, steady. "This is my husband," I told Adam, meeting his gaze. William extended a hand politely, but the unspoken authority in that gesture was clear. "This is my family now." Adam shook it reluctantly, his grip weak. William turned to me, ready to head home. "Absolutely," I replied. We crossed the street together, Noah chattering happily about his school project. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The closure I never thought I'd get had come not in triumph or revenge, but in peace. As we drove home, Tulips resting beside me, I thought about the cruel irony. Evelyn had humiliated me. Adam had abandoned me. They'd replaced me with someone better. Yet here I was, loved, safe, about to welcome a new child into a home filled with warmth. Karma hadn't needed my help. It had handled everything in its own time. And if there's one thing my journey has taught me, it's this. Being thrown away doesn't make you worthless. Sometimes it's the very push you need to discover the life you truly deserve. People who betray you often sow the seeds of their own downfall. The sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living so well that the people who doubted you can't even touch the edges of your happiness. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think? Was Adam just a weak man trapped by his mother's influence, or did he get exactly what he deserved? And what about Evelyn? Was her cruelty born from tradition, or was it pure malice? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever been underestimated, humiliated, or cast aside, let this story remind you one day you might look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude that they let you go. Because sometimes the best life is the one you build after they've thrown you out.